may I have your leftovers, Ma? It was a cold, rainy afternoon. The cafe smelled of fresh bread and coffee, but outside, the streets were muddy and empty. Through the glass door, a thin boy of about 9 years old stood barefoot. His shirt clung to his body from the rain, his slippers nearly broken. He pressed his small hands to the doorframe, watching the people inside with hungry eyes. Inside, Mrs. Adana, a wealthy, elegant businesswoman in her 40s, sat alone at a corner table. Her diamond wristwatch glittered as she lifted her fork. Known across the city as a ruthless millionaire, she was feared in the boardroom and admired in the newspapers, but also whispered about as cold, untouchable. Her plate was still half full when she heard a soft, trembling voice at her side. Ma, please, may I have your leftovers? Adana turned, irritated. But when she saw him, those hollow eyes, that trembling smile, her fork slipped from her hand and clattered against the plate. The boy's hunger. Before she could respond, the waiter stormed over. Hey! Out! This is not a place for beggars. But Adana's sharp voice cut through the cafe. Leave him. The waiter froze. She slid her plate across the table. Sit. Eat. But to her surprise, the boy didn't touch the food. Instead, he pulled a torn piece of nylon bag from his pocket and began wrapping the rice and chicken carefully. Adana frowned. You asked for food. Why aren't you eating? The boy's voice was barely above a whisper. It's for my little sister. She hasn't eaten today. I can manage with water. Something in Adana's chest broke open. She stared at him, speechless. What's your name? She finally asked. Emeka, he replied, avoiding her eyes. Adana pushed the plate back toward him. Eat first. Your sister will still get her share. He hesitated, then took one cautious bite. After chewing slowly, he lowered his head, whispering. Thank you, Lord, thank you for this woman. Adana's throat tightened. She covered her face for a moment so no one would see the tears forming in her eyes. Tell me, Emeka, where are your parents? His spoon clinked against the plate as he answered quietly. Papa died last year in a motor accident. Mama, she's sick. Bedridden. I pick scraps by the roadside to buy food. Sometimes, we sleep hungry. The cafe was silent. Adana excused herself and walked into the restroom. For the first time in years, the Iron Lady wept. She remembered her own childhood, her father gone, her mother struggling to feed her. She had buried those memories beneath money and success. But this boy's voice had dug them back out. That evening, Adana asked Emeka to take her to his home. He resisted at first, ashamed, but she insisted. They walked through muddy streets until they reached a crumbling shack. The roof leaked. The air smelled of damp clothes. On a tin mat lay a little girl, no more than 5, holding her stomach in hunger. Beside her, a frail woman coughed weakly, her body too thin to rise. Adana froze. She covered her mouth as tears spilled freely. Oh my God, she whispered. This was me. Years ago, this was me. Everything changed. That night, Adana didn't return to her mansion. She stayed with them. The next morning, she moved Emeka, his sister, and their mother into her home. Doctors came. Food filled their plates. New clothes replaced the torn ones. Weeks later, she enrolled the children in school. The ruthless millionaire who once thought only of profit, had found her heart again in the eyes of a starving boy. Years later, at a grand auditorium filled with cameras, a young man in a suit stood before thousands. It was Emeka, now educated, confident, and successful. Behind him glowed the logo of the Adana Foundation, an organization feeding and educating thousands of children. A reporter asked him, "What changed your life?" Emeka smiled, his voice strong. One woman looked into my eyes, and saw me not as a beggar, but as her own child. The crowd rose to its feet, applauding. And at the front row, Mrs. Adana wept proudly. Lesson, sometimes, one simple question, may I have your leftovers? Can transform not just a life, but an entire generation.